Oh dear. Well, I'm just waiting for you to come back online again. This will be the last bit. Um, yeah, just quickly talk about potential upcomings with Rittenden. Hang on a minute. Oh, it's alright. You're not spot hang on. Which is nice. Uh, do 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 do. Bum, 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 bum. And I got one viewer back. Um, yeah, I'm just. Hang on. So I'm just catching up on. I'll go with that. So while we're just coming back on, I'm just quickly going through some Telegram bits. So I think Paul's already done it. So. Right, we've just got the one so far. Feel free to fire away a question, single viewer at the minute. Now, weirdly, the battery on my tablet. Yeah, there's something else I'll quickly chat about. Whilst I'm waiting for viewers to come back online. FBI buried the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election. Well, we know that. Yeah, as you know, I bought actually physically now have a tablet which I nearly got scammed over by some lovely people who claim to work for O2. Fortunately, O2, I hope are onto them because yeah, I could have been left with some nasty bills. Yeah, the tablet I bought was a Galaxy Tab A, 10-inch. The big, you got the 8-inch and the 10-inch, I think. This is the 10-inch. No, I bought it for a variety of reasons. This being one of them, because I've got a nice, decent sized screen, so I can see the comments clearly. The downside is obviously just what's happened there. Doing a live vlog, I'm dependent on the Wi-Fi signal here, unless it was something I said and YouTube didn't like it. I've already had one or two issues with YouTube. I don't like that. Yes, mate. Rick, on basic Rittenden content, I'm going to cover basically what I'm looking at because I try and I don't try and go too far down the rabbit hole because then you're pulling people that are supposed to be involved like Patsy Clark and Blundalls and all that, and it's like, how far does this web go? I'm trying to stick to the immediate facts and the immediate people. So, which is Billy Jasper, Mr. D, which I've already covered. So now I'm going to concentrate on Darren Nichols, and then I'm also going to look at the timelines for Tate, Tucker, and Rolfe, see how they converge, and Nichols for that matter. See how and where they converge, see where the discrepancies are, and highlight them. And I'm going to look at the psychology of Nichols as well, with all the info that we've already got, which is time spent on witness protection from the statements Mickey made, so on and so forth. So we try and get a picture of who Darren was, how his mindset was, and what I'm also going to do. I'm going to look at doing a third and this time final, because I really didn't think I'd expect to get past the second paranormal visit. I didn't even want to do that, to be honest. And I only done it because of the the Niporellis story. But yeah, Ricky was coached. Essex Police coached him, because they'd hand him bits of paper and tell him what to say. That's why there were so many. I mean, he, for someone who was telling a pack of bullshit, obviously it was believable enough for the jury to say that Mick and Jack were guilty. But Mick's defence should have concentrated on all the discrepancies in Nichols' witness statement. And it was indeed full of shit. It really was. We all know that now. But not enough people did back then. So I want to look at Darren Nichols, the person, because the finger from my investigations pointed to him. So I want to look at his psychology, and because he was much more involved than what we were led to believe. And so when his interactions when he was in witness protection, the interactions he had with Mickey, with Pat Tate, and so on, there's a lot there, and I'm going to try and cover that as best as I can. And I'm going to also look at the timelines that, from Darren Nichols' perspective, Pat, Tony, and Craig, their perspective, and see what the discrepancies are. I think so. Yeah. I know. Raquel's became Riley's snooker hole, but that in itself has been closed for years. If I can get access to it, it'd be a great spot to. I don't think it's even changed that much, but even when it went to Riley's. So yeah, if I can get access to the place, it'd be great. Just do a little bit of live scene filming. I can't remember what was that before my video cut. Oh, I was just talking about the paranormal side. Yeah, I need to find out who's in charge of that property. Yeah, so at the moment I seem to have problems when I want to get access to. That's why a lot of my paranormal stuff is on open ground, because I do get a lot of I do seem to hit a lot of brick walls when it comes to getting access to properties. It'll come out eventually. I think we're all as near as damn it, regarding what happened. But you've still got that period between 7 o'clock, and let's say when Jiggins and Theobald discovered them in the morning. Although I think the important bit was between 7 and midnight. I'm under the impression that they did actually come away from the lane. They've been at other places. I've got the impression that happened. And I think if and when I do a third investigation, I'm going to go down there. At the moment, I've got some new people who are sort of coming on board with the paranormal side, so I want to see how they are. Just get my own feelings on them and how they work. Because when I put the second one together, it was at very short notice, so I took a chance with one or two people. Hopefully, we might, trying to get a couple of breakthroughs, and it's very, very nearly backfired, to be honest. And when I go back, hopefully I'll have had more time to spend with a few people who might be able to sort of, who are more open than I am, and we might be able to get someone else. Again, I'm not too interested in who ordered the blags. It is, yeah. Yeah, it's one of the. I can walk into a lot of areas where there's energy, and I'm generally all right. But yeah, Workhouse Lane. Um, I've had some of the weirdest feelings down there. Yeah, it's. I still have to. I've been down there for some time, but yeah, I think the old bloody lot of them was involved. To be honest, in some way or another. Rundle, Clark, um, you know, the old saying honour amongst thieves. I reckon they all got together and said, look, we need to take these idiots out. You know, they're getting above their station. And I suppose Essex Police, suppose it was the lesser of the two evils, because obviously they were they were a noisy trio, and I suppose it's what the public perception. Those that are into big crime generally sit back and they've got minions to do their work, and they go about their jobs quietly without, creating ripples. Obviously, they want to keep it as quiet as possible because they don't want attention attracted to them. Tucker Tate and Rolf are the opposite. Everything seemed to, they were like magnets for attention, and it just, in the end of the day, the wrong people picked up on that, when they were trying to move up on the rungs. The big fish were like, nope, you need to be dealt with, and the only one they know how. So, I mean, to my mind, those that were involved in ordering the hit, personally, I think, yeah, Clark, Blundell's, the old sodding lot of them got involved with that. And it's interesting to know, something I didn't pick up on until before I went to Whitby. Was it while I was at Whitby? I can't remember. Now, obviously, I've done the route of Billy Jasper. I've covered that. I've covered the route of Mr. D when Billy dropped him off at the end of Rectory Lane and he walked through to Workhouse. I've done that. Now, something I picked up on very recently. What kind of night on the 6th of December 95? What kind of night was it? Now, we know it was cold because it was snowing, or it was December on it. And it was a clear night. Obviously, the frost that happened. But what was it like for illumination? Now, those fields, there's not a lot of light pollution. Now, when we talk light pollution, we mean if you're in a large town or a city, you know what I mean? You've got light pollution from street lights, from building signs, and so on. That isn't. It's in the middle of nowhere. Now, the thought occurred to me, illumination. And one of the few good things about the internet is I looked up what kind of moon was there on that night. And do you know something? It was the last step of the moon cycle before it became the full moon. So you've got the full moon, and obviously then it goes, then you've got the new moon, yeah, or whatever. It was that one last step before the full moon, so it's as good as a full moon, but not quite, because you just got that little shave where it's not quite a full moon. So if it was a clear night and you've got a virtual full moon, you would have had plenty of moonlight to be able to, as Mr. D to more or less see where you're going over the fields, and then break through the line and do your business. So I even paid attention to that. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a nighttime recording, and I've looked for the next couple, not October, September, October, because we're still autumn, summer, autumn. So we're still going to have vegetation. The fields could be a bit muddy. No, exactly. No. I had I had in 1994 to 95 a Motorola M301, and yeah, you had not even the screen would have given you any light. They were really, I thought that, we all thought they were the bees and these phones at the time, Motorola M301s. They had the flip front, aerial, blah blah blah. But they gave off no lights. You couldn't even see from the display light where he was going. But the thought occurred to me, what kind of moonlight did you have? And when I looked at it, as I said, you got the full moon, and it was the step before that. So you just got that tiny little crescent, but it was as good as a full moon. And if it was a clear winter's night, you would have got a decent amount of illumination from that moon. So what I'm going to do, mainly to shut up one or two, well, partly to shut up one or two trolls. I did want to look at it anyway, but just to say, look, this can be done. Is November, December time. I've looked. There's 2 dates available when the moon is in the same position, or it's got the same amount of illumination. So I'm going to keep an eye on them 2 dates. I can't remember what they're off the top of my head. And when they come around, I'm going to do the trip with Billy Jasper down to Rectory, and then I'm going to jump out at the same point, cross the field, see how I get on. And we should get as near a picture as we can to that night, because November, December time, we're talking winter. All right, I doubt it's going to be snow. I mean, who knows? The weather's been so topsy-turvy over the past couple of years, you just don't know. Yeah, weirdly, during Darren Nichols' statement, where he said that he pulled out without looking, and I think Mickey had to grab the wheel. Yeah, it's getting cold. I mean, yeah, we're going September, so you can expect it. I mean, bollocks is climate change malarkey. But I think where Darren has changed his story was that the white escort van was his mate's car, and apparently he turned up at Darren Nichols' workshop that day to get a trailer or something to bring back the Passat, which was actually broken down. That was that was the how the Passat is actually involved. It had actually broken down, and Nichols ended up getting it instead. That's what placed him near to the lane at the time. Although he actually bounced off a different transmitter. The white escort van, a guy called Craig or Colin, something like that, but it was linked to Nichols. Now, as I say, the investigations I've done pointed the finger towards Nichols as the shooter. Even if the 3 shots that went off, now I've got this is where we need to get a clearer picture between 7 and midnight, because when I went down there the second time and I asked when the shootings occurred, it came through from Tony's being midnight, which would back up the witness statement or the resident statement that said he had a plethora of shotgun or plethora of gunshots going off midnight, early hours. And with Mr. D, Billy Jasper's account of Mr. D's missing time, which is 30-40 minutes, I've covered it. I've covered the ground in the time that it took me to cover that ground fits with what Billy Jasper said. So, yeah, we've just got this missing time slot. Now, I've got two theories. One's a little bit outlandish. The initial shots were covered out at 7 o'clock. Yeah, now a lot of people said this. It looks like professional. And again, a lot of people said he hasn't got the minerals. You need to bear in mind several things about Nichols. One, Mickey still brought up the fact that I'm sure as Mickey still brought it up. I'll be able to clarify it when I actually do it properly. Yeah, you'll be the same as me, Ricky. I lived in remote parts of Kent where exactly the same things happen, and you could hear the gunshots ring out for a good mile, 2 miles, even on a clear night. But so just going back to Nichols, as I understand it, Nichols already had a firearms offence. Darren Nichols was also experienced in handling a shotgun. He used to go shooting with his boss of the electrical firm he worked for. So he's got the knowledge of how to use a shotgun. Firstly, second, when you look at the damage to the headrest, everyone overlooks this. When you look at the damage to the headrest of where Craig Rolfe was shot, if you ever go and stand next to, he knows how to handle a shotgun. So secondly, when you look at the damage to the headrest of the Range Rover where Rolfe was shot, I've gone and stood up next to a couple of Range Rovers, a couple of Discoveries, which were a bit newer than the Range Rover that I was in. But crucially, they're all the same height. There's not a lot in it. I remember the old Range Rovers, they were tall vehicles. And Discoveries and Range Rovers slightly later were similar height. But when you stand next to a Range Rover, you need to appreciate how high that headrest is. And that damage, I stood up and imagined holding a shotgun. I was literally up on my toes. I'm 5'11", right? And I had to be up on my toes to imagine a shotgun causing that damage. So whoever done that was a minimum of 6 foot tall. They've got to be a minimum of 6 foot tall. Nichols was 6'2", I think, around that. The other thing you need to bear in mind with Nichols, he fucked up over that drug deal that went on in Holland. A lot of the problems that come down to him on that. Obviously, Pat Tate was raging. Nichols had to see Tate. I can't remember what it's come up. You might need to check on crime city courtroom stuff, but Nichols, I think you had to talk to Tate. Nichols was shit scared of Tate. Nichols also used to take I could go with that. Either Tate or Nichols got done. Either Tate or Rolfe got done first. Crucially, the damage to Tate was in the abdomen. To my mind, it'd have been just as easy to shoot him in the head. Why go for the gut? It'd take the same length of time to shoot him in the head as shoot him in the gut. Whoever pulled that trigger wanted Pat Tate to see. They wanted Pat to know who pulled that trigger. I think Half the reason was because Tucker owed money. I think the money was an issue, but I think whoever pulled the trigger was someone that went, Tate, you need to see who's doing this. So there was a person. Yeah, yeah. I think that's the case. As I said, why bother shooting him in the gut when you can just as easily do him in the head? You know, do him there and then. He wouldn't have known. But to shoot him in the side, you wanted him wounded, so he could see the guy that was pulling the trigger, and that was the last image he'd see before he went. So, again, there's history with Nichols and Tate. Nichols, before the issue with the drugs, Tate used to take the piss out of Nichols, and there was a statement I think was in court for Mickey Still when he described Darren as having a silly side, you know, and then he had this other side where he said, I could do that, I could pull a trigger, I could shoot someone. So, you know, mainly there's these little pieces which get overlooked. So, for me, Nichols needs to be, you need to understand his psychology. And to me, that, when you look at these little bits, it was, when he was in witness protection, it was very evasive. You know, he was like constantly trying to give out the impression that he wasn't there. You know, it was like trying to distance himself as much as possible. So there's all these little things. And it was leading back a little to I have spoken to Albert. I can't reveal much at the moment because the content I've got to do, I've got to run past with Albert first of all, make sure he's happy with it. Because obviously the work that they're doing needs to make sure it's not compromised. So, yeah, the timelines I'm putting together will have some stuff that's been provided. As I say, I'll have to run everything when I've got it all planned out. I'm going to run it with Albert, see if he's happy, and then I can release the content. As I say, as regarding Nichols, he was when I done my paranormal bits. Now, when I mentioned Nichols' name on the first occasion, when we was down to a Paranormal Essex, Rob, who was doing the Estes, he said he was getting a lot of shouting at him when I mentioned Nichols' name. And when I went back for the second occasion, whilst you can't convey any level of anger, because my communication at the time was dowsing rods, so you can't convey the level of anger. But what Tracy Cam picked up, remember Tracy, before she got her own TikTok, doing her own TikTok and Instagram stuff, would walk around with my spare phone with GhostTube app running. And that phone was very sensitive to picking up EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, spirit voices. And when I went over the edit for Tracy Cam, an EVP come through, and this is up in my Retinum playlist. And an EVP came through that said, "Fuck you, Darren. Fuck." All right. Now, why is that level of anger directed to Darren when he wasn't supposed to be there? So that then leads me down two paths. Either Mr. D himself was Darren Nichols, or the gunshots fired off around midnight were to put off the timeline, and the gunshots may have actually occurred early on in the evening, around 7 or 8 o'clock, whatever. Interesting. Could you tell me a bit more about Colin? Just sort of give me a background on Colin, that'd be handy. Yeah, so maybe Darren could have pulled the trigger earlier on. that's when the white van disappeared. Darren's bundled in the back of the white van, fucked off. And then Mr. D's gone down there at midnight, let off a few more shots to confuse the timeline. And Mr. D, when he went, I remember the description that Billy gave. Mr. D went off with one holdall, which had the sawn off and the 9mm. And then when he came back, he had two holdalls. So, yeah, that's where we're at. That's about as far as I can get. So, if and when I go back down for a third and final investigation, at the moment, this is what I was getting at before my video shut earlier. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, as I say, did the gunshot, the actual shooting occur earlier on, and was midnight to put people off, or was it the other way around? And the people I want to get involved this time, I'm taking more consideration. Yeah, I mean, the police we know the police are corrupt, and you know, I don't know what they're like these days. I do not. Oh, okay, Ricky. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I know. I I had a few run-ins with Essex police, not any of those levels. I mean, it was just sort of motoring, so you know, it's very minor. But I can always remember I was a 16-year-old kid on my first motorbike, a little bloody East German Simpson 50, and I pulled down a little lane. I thought, I know I've done a wrong turn in here. It's over by the Alton Grammar Watch, I remember this clearly. And I've turned around and ridden up about 6 foot of path for to come off of a drop curb. And this copper literally blew into me, stopped and gave me the right act for riding on a few feet of pavement at God knows what time in the evening. They were unreal. The stupid thing is, I know a few of the Essex police now. The guys I know, that they're decent guys. But where if the bad apple's in the wrong place, then it affects the whole lot. But yeah, that Collins interesting. As I say, at the moment I've got a few new faces that are sort of getting involved on the paranormal side of it. So I want to kind of test the waters with some different people, because when I've done the second investigation, it was put together at very short notice because of the Niporelli story breaking. So I took a chance on a couple of people that I've not met before, and it did nearly backfire on me. I think most people saw that. But yeah, when I worked towards my third and final, because I don't know where else there is to go on a random thing. As I say, if you keep going down the rabbit hole, you got Mr. B's involved, Mrs. C, Miss D, White House. Yeah, I've heard about them. Yeah, I'll try and have a look at them at some point, because there's a few theories on that. I personally think it might be a little bit more clear cut. But yeah, I'll certainly look at that, because I still want to go back to Patricia Parsons. No, he can't. As I understand, he's got a disclaimer. Yeah, Nipper, I think it's personally, because he had I think he had a fallout with Mahoney. Don't quote me on that, but I think there was an issue between Nipper and Mahoney. So, pass. I don't watch TV, but I'll if I get a minute, I'll try and find it. As I say, I don't watch TV anymore. Just full of woke crap. But yeah, as I say, I'm going to try and pull in the right people that I personally know and have seen working for a third and final pop at it and see if we can sort of fill some gaps in. I mean, my primary interest is between when they went down the lane at 7 and midnight, so it's that 5 hour gap. So I've got a few ideas from the previous 2 investigations on what happened down there, but it's just trying to get a line, and hopefully I can try and persuade Pat to come back through, because when we visited the second time, Pat would not talk to us. He was very angry. Whether he was just angry with me for having the audacity to come back down and talk to him, or just angry because of what happened to him, or both, I don't know. But Pat wouldn't come through on the second time. So, as I say, but I'm going to pull the people in, try and get the right questions, and yeah, hopefully we can draw some sort of line on that and let people try and decide for themselves based on what I've got on it. As I say, with Nichols, even if it turned out that he wasn't the shooter, he was heavily involved. Yeah, I've heard there was some cutting going on with John. Again, you know, how much of that was I will go over that and listen myself and see what he says on that. Because again, it's just, what do you know? I think the only other person that probably really knows is Mick. But they're not going to listen to him, because I think Jack was wise enough to know that keep going on about protesting the innocents wasn't going to get them anywhere. And I think Jack probably made the decision to get his head down, become a model prisoner, which he did do. You know, learn to read and write, helped other prisoners. That's how he got out. Mick, I think for all Mick's intelligence, I don't think he could cope. I don't think he got his head around the situation he's in, which is why he carried on protesting his innocence and being fitted up and all of that. And that's going to fall on deaf ears with, you know, with our justice system. I think, you know, whilst Jack obviously maintained his innocence, he got his head down and got on with it. Maybe if Mickey had taken a leaf out of Jack's book, then he'd be out as well. Who knows? That's a travesty. But as I've said to a few people now, it's the shit thing about our justice system is you've got that's bollocks. John says check. Yeah, I'd say they paid for it. So I think that the people behind it, most likely the Blundalls and Patsy Clark, they are the most realistic names behind it. You know, kind of lost what I was about to say then. But it sort of beggars belief when, you know, you got Kenny Noyes walking around a free man, and yet he's actually killed 2 people that we know of. You know, the 2 people he's been tried for was the policeman he stabbed, and obviously Stephen Cameron. And we physically know he was responsible, and yet he's walking around a free man. Yeah, I know the DH you're on about. Ex-military. That's the one. Yeah, he certainly got the whatsits to be able to do it. He does have the whatsits to be able to do it, from what I understand. But as I say, no one's 100% on this. The long fella. Yeah. Yeah, there was a, as I say, the one I'm the one I sort of the name that sprung to my head was an ex-military guy who turned to doing hits and things. Again, it's plausible. It was just as plausible he'd turned up down there to fire some gunshots off to confuse the timeline. We don't know 100% at the moment. As I say, it's the when I first went into that area, it's probably the ultimate whodunit, because no one is 100%. I think what we can do now is, to my mind, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Right. Well, I mean, if that was the case, then he served his time. Which John to Blab, which he did, but it's quite. It went down. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's. Right. Yeah, I'll have a look at that and see what I can make of it. Again, it's another name in the hat. Or was it just thrown in there to take the scent off? So, to my mind, this narrows down to one or two people who pulled the trigger. We've got Nichols and Mr. DH, or the Mr. D, that turn up at midnight. To me, to my mind, we can narrow it down to them two. It's just annoying that if the police know who they are, well, they don't pull them in. But is there what is the evidence? Bar what is the evidence? Bar witness statements. They've got 140 odd files sitting on this that no one's seen. Yeah, 12 midnight. Yeah. As I said, Neil, I've personally followed Billy Jasper's route, and it stacks up. Billy Jasper's account stacks up when he went down, to the point of Rectory Lane. The timeline in which Mr. D disappeared and come back again, that stacked up. I've personally walked it. I may not have followed the exact route, but it's not going to be out by more than a few minutes. So when he said 30 or 40 minutes, and I was back within 40 minutes, so Billy's account was accurate in that respect. But as we say, Mr. D isn't. That's going to be the question. No. And the fact that the jury believed it, despite the holes, even if Nichols, Mickey's defence, or Mick and Jack's defence, should maybe have looked at concentrating more on the defence side. Yeah, why would Jasper make it up? As I've probably said before in previous videos, Jasper's from Canning Town, which is where my folks originate from. And 25 years ago, what would a guy from Canning Town be doing in the back of Beyond in Southwood and Ferrers? And those were the days before sat-navs. So it's not like you can just go, as we would now, just plumb into your sat-nav, Old Rectory Lane, Southwood. It's not like you can just do that. You need the Essex map. Yeah. You basically need an Essex map, and you need to follow closely how it's done, unless you're being directed there. So how would Billy Jasper, a guy from Canning Town, know how to get to this back lane in Southwood and Ferrers. Now, again, is something I've said before. I used to do an apprenticeship for a garage in Warworth on the old A130, which is just down the road from where Rectory Lane is. So I'm quite familiar with the area. And when I went back there, I nearly drove past it twice, and I know the road. So, that's me nearly missing it with a sat nav who's familiar with the area. So how the hell did Billy Jasper know it? There was no way on God's clean earth Billy could have known how to get there unless he'd already been there. And so, again, if he's to be reinvestigated, Billy's witness statements need to be picked up on, because he was, to my mind, at least in that respect, he was spot on. Cool. Do you know I wasn't far from Doncaster last week? Yeah. I mean, as I say, I want to get the content out of the way for the timelines. I want to get that done. I want to get the psychology of Nichols out of the way. Get the last paranormal bit done, and then, as far as I'm concerned, for official investigation, because there's no further. For me, there's nowhere else to go with it. I'm only interested in what physically happened there and who was physically there that night. All the other names is circumspect. It's not really what I'm interested in. But once I've done all that, maybe I might sort of do a couple of walks down there with people, and just for the odd bit. But having said, as I say, there's a lot of content for me to process first, so there's still going to be a fair bit coming up on it. But once that's out of the way, then I might well look at doing a few walks around the area, just so people who haven't seen it before get a good picture on on everything that's there. Right, I'm going to. I've been waffling for nearly 2 hours, and it's 11 o'clock. So I'm going to cut it off. I need to get something to eat. My throat's getting a bit dry. Again, just remind you the content this Wednesday. Neil. If you go, if you look at my playlists, I've actually got a folder just for the Rettendon, right from the first investigation we did on the 25th anniversary, right through to all my little, bits, and then my second paranormal bit, and all the bonus content, all the rest of it. Yeah, if you go, Rettendon Murders playlist, you'll see everything in there, and I keep it busy. Kept me busy, I can tell you that much. Yes, I'm saying I'm gonna leave it there because I want to get a bite to eat, and I'm gonna go to bed, and it's back to work for me tomorrow. I've been off since last Monday, so it's gonna be a bit of a culture shock in the morning. Again, this Wednesday. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, as I say, Pat come through to me the first time. Actually, technically, I think all three did come through. I did pick out Tony's voice on my spirit box, and I think Craig as well somewhere. But Pat was the dominating spirit on the first one. Wouldn't come through as the second, so we got Tony. As I say, the content this Wednesday is a return to the bombed out church near Pluckley, and I've got some really good EVPs on that one. So I'm going to leave it there, guys and girls. Probably might do another vlog next Monday because I'm back on my stepdad. Thanks, Darren. I hope you enjoy it. There's plenty of stuff on here, mostly paranormal related, but I'm going to. I think I've done a couple of murders now, so those bits are worth looking at as well. All right. Cheers, Drill. All the best to you, mate. Paul, if you're still out there, Hopefully I'll see you in a week, if not next Saturday, because yeah, someone's coming out for a little investigation. All right, thanks so much, everybody. Love and lights. You'll have a great week. We'll see you again. Bye bye.